Hello, Kraus. How are you? Kathy, welcome. Feel like I haven't talked to you all day. Shelly, hi. How is everyone? Priest, welcome. Alexander, so good to see you. Ethan, hi. Abby, yay. Shelly, Multi. John, how are you? Hey, Alexander, I'm doing great. Doing fantastic. It's Friday. Bianca, hi. Kraus, thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Kathy, thank you too. Marcus, welcome. John, I am doing great. I really appreciate it. Multi, we missed you too, or I missed you too. Thank you, Sophia. Elise, hi. Ethan, thank you. Miguel, welcome. How are you? Nice. What did I do today? I worked. Shelly, I missed you too. Thank you. Let's see. Somebody. Thank you, Bianca. My hair. Kraus, worse. It's gotten worse and you've backed off the broccoli? What is going on? Marcus, I did have chicken and rice today. Twice. Chloe, hi. How are you? Where did I grow up? I grew up in Western North Carolina. So there is an accent. You had chicken and rice burritos? Alexander, that's awesome. I bet it was fantastic. Val, I'll do my very best not to go bald. Thank you. Jim, hi. You had chicken noodles. Multi, great. Great variants. Bring something new to the table. Love it. Hey, AM. Nymph, thank you for purchasing the subscription. I am glad to welcome you to the family. Chicken and rice is it's good. It's just good. Abby, you had grilled chicken and veggies. Perfect. I hope it was yummy. You like the blue? It's kind of a slate, kind of a gray blue. It looks different every time I see it. I kind of like it too. Kathy, you had a fruit cup. You stole a fruit cup, is what you mean. Wyatt, how are you? Marcus, you've never had chicken and rice? You got to fix that. I'm not mad. You just have to fix it. Hello from Vietnam. How are things in Vietnam? Kathy, I know you did. Wyatt, hi. Aloe, hi. Wyatt, you're going to cook chicken and rice for everyone. You're going to have to distribute it all over the world. There's someone from Vietnam here. Shelly, thank you. Moose, you love the videos? I am glad. I got put on a naughty list today with videos. They absolutely slowed down my progression to the world. Thanks, Kathy. No, what? Yeah, they apparently the joke I tried to make about the White House was not received very well by the algorithm. Oh well. Yep. I am. Shannon, thank you. I too thought it was hilarious. I thought it was quite funny. Edgy without being edgy. But no. Killer Queen, you are back. It's 3 a.m. in Scotland. Jay, welcome. It is 10 p.m. on the east coast of the United States. Wyatt, your brother is graduating tonight. Congratulations to your brother. Someone had chicken and rice tonight again, or made chicken and rice. Spaghetti, you made chicken and rice. When I was in college, they made this stuff called cicchetti. It was basically chicken spaghetti. It was nasty. Amber, you had spaghetti. Fantastic. I hope it was good. Oh, look there. June under a different name. Hey. There we go. Hi to the person with the name that I still can't pronounce but has the little crab emoji. Yay, glad you're here. So where's the cup? Here's the cup, right here. What did I study in college? English. English and communications. Love mayo. Thank you, Carl. Oh, Multi. Oh, Multi. Oh, Multi. You're encouraging him. Ethan, you're studying English too. Congratulations. NIGGLE716. Hi. Lucy, hi. I know where you want me to put that cup. My name cup. I know exactly where you want me to put it. That'll be later in the evening. Ethan, thank you. I look forward to it. Multi-oop. Yeah, I do have pets. I have 2 dogs. Gabby, hi. Oh, me. Chloe, hi. How are you? Lucy, you have 2 dogs too? What kind of dogs do you have? Mine are mixed. They're rescue dogs. Someone emotionally detached from men. Oh, there we go. The person with the crab emoji. You emotionally detached from men and you're 26. That's fine. It's totally fine. Who is the other dog? We know Blue. The other dog's name is Bixby, and he is mean. He's little tiny thing. He's cute, super cute, but mean, and you can't catch him. I need the cup thing so I can go to sleep peacefully. My, oh my, Bixby is a diva. You're correct. He's little like Napoleon is what he is. Is he camera shy? He's not just camera shy. He's like everyone shy. Kraus, you did not mean to copy. Thank you. I forgot there were other people with your name. Oh. Whoop, whoop. Freakism, you're at work. Freakism, welcome. Glad you're here. Marcus, your dog is scared of your trash can. That's shy. That's shy. Kraus, you need help on who to edit next. I'll give that some thought. The cup comments. I'm telling you. Chris, thank you. Welcome to the live. Ooh. Vulcany, thank you. Both of your cats are scared of the vacuum. I can understand that. I can understand why a vacuum would frighten pets. I do. That I get. Y'all, the cup. It's a cup. It's just a cup. Ethan, your cats are afraid of balloons? That would be funny. I met a dog once that was afraid of the exercise ball. Like the giant exercise ball. Freaked him out. Mm-hmm. Kraus, you're right. Kathy, your dog is adorable. Vulcan, your dog was stolen? That's something. Killer Queen, your dog's afraid of your motorcycle helmet. That's cute. Oh, Vulcan, that's terrible. I'm sorry. Dirt, hi. Priest, you got to go to sleep already. Priest, have a good night's sleep. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it a lot. Freakism. Bixby is not like afraid of things. What it is he's trying to protect people from everything. Literally everything. Everything is a threat. He's the devil incarnate. Yes. Thanks, Kathy. Yay. He's spicy. Lord Viscount Bridgerton. Mm-hmm. Username. Killer Queen. Oh, your house is haunted. Do I watch Dance Moms? I've never seen it. Never watched it. Yes. Twinkle Bell, thank you for the roses very much. Very much. We got a chatty crowd tonight. All right, Andy's cup. I'm going to I'm going to have to just stop reading your comments because they're too much. Have I seen the Interview with a Vampire TV show? No, I have not. And I have not seen the last Mission Impossible. Vulcany, you're on it. Zach, how are you? You are not canceled. You are not canceled. You are entertaining. You just started. Shelley. Vulcany, the puppy eyes. Y'all, I have to tell you the sweetest thing. I was out walking Blue. It was this morning. We're walking and there's some tennis courts up near our house and people were out playing tennis. And this lady was walking into the tennis courts and Blue and I, and she stopped us and she goes, they say people look like their dogs and you don't look like your dog. However, I can tell the two of you have the same personality. And I thought, that's a really cool comment because Blue loves everybody, like everybody. He's just the happiest dog in the world, and he's so much fun to walk because he's just happy all the time. And for her to assume that I was that way made me feel great. It was very sweet. Beatable, I missed y'all too. For reals. Gabby, no one has ever said that. Not once. Andy's cup. I'm telling you, I see those comments and I'm like, I can't say that. Alexander, you too. You have a good night. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Closing down, how are you? Thank you, Daniela. It's a cool color. It's kind of a slate blue. It's interesting. I like it. It's like the blue version of the green t-shirt y'all seem to like. Yes, closing down, you have been noticed. Aliens, they'll be out. I'm confident before the end of the evening you're going to be able to take a peek. Shelley, you like the green shirt? Lots of people like the green shirt. It's in the laundry. Oh, nice. Thank you, Alan. How are you? Beatable. Thanks for the roses. Kathy, thank you. Room tour. Shamba, there you go. The room tour is the easiest thing in the world. It's a tiny room, little room. Thank you, Beatable. A lot. Four walls and a bed. That is it. That's it. It is a tiny little room. So, Shambi, the skincare routine is posted. Thank you, Ethan. Y'all, I got lucky in the nose department. Like, seriously lucky, and I don't mean that because I think my nose is particularly attractive. I say that because I know what my sister's nose looks like. And my God, schnoz, that thing, whoa, she has got a nose. It's crazy. Andy's cup. I'm sure it is. You have the daily facial. I am certain of it. Hi, Andy. I changed my username. Unforgiven. Okie doke. Look at that. Thank you, Kathy. Shambi, yes, I am. I am 55. Thanks, Kraus. Unforgiven. Yay. Daniela, what does beekeeper age mean? It's a reference from a cartoon talking about old men. Emmeline, I am not old. I'm old. I am old. How do I get tan? Beatable. Do I lay out? No, it's from running. When I'm running in the morning, I'm in the sun the whole time. And sometimes I even, like at work, I move about around town a lot while I'm at work, and I don't drive. I'm outside. I walk. Kraus, you're wearing a face mask. Those things do. It's an interesting thing that they do to you. Hi, Sonic. How are you? Ethan, dress up in full cowboy attire. I could do that. Could probably do that. Daniela, you too. Have a nice night. Shelly, please do it. I could probably do it. Multi, it's incredible. Multi, your poem is incredible. I'm not going to talk much about it because there's a lot of depth to it, and I'm still trying to process through it. But it was incredible. It's enough to make me want to go back and read it again and again and again, which is what I'm doing. Thank you, Sonic. Zion, I'm glad you're here. So, Kraus, you said they dry your face out? The masks do? Mine do. It actually does just the opposite to me. Like for me, I put them on because I want the deep, deep, deep moisturizer, and they work. It's like, they're awesome. Planet Adrian, hi. Sultan, how are you? Please watch the TV show Hannibal. I've been asked to watch that quite a bit, and I haven't watched it. I just don't watch TV. I want to... Oh. Hi, Cody. How are you? Yeah, Kathy, I need a list of TV shows that I'm supposed to watch because it's apparently like a book long. B, 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 B. RYU, welcome. Kraus, which one do I use? There's a CVS close to where I work, and I go in there, and every other week I'll buy one of the, the put on your face mask, the zombie masks, and it's white. It's just a white envelope, and it's like $7. But every week I use this Indian clay mask that you paint on. Actually, the video that I posted last night, that's what I'm wearing, and it dries on your face and cracks, and then you rinse it off. It works really, really, really well. It's like deep, deep, deep pore cleansing mask. Yeah, I still need to watch Fellow Travelers. Toot, hi, Toot, meet Kraus. Deep, Wyatt, very deep. Did I know that Jonathan Bailey's character from Fellow Travelers' birthday is today? No, I did not. But happy birthday to that character. Kathy, I can't wait to watch it. Skippy. Mia, how are you? No, the person with the little emoji. No, I've not heard of that person. Kraus, where is Toot? Just keep watching. The username Toot right there. Elle, I think you're all thirsty. I agree. No, you have not missed story time. We will be starting in 2 minutes. I'll be reading in 2 minutes. And y'all, Charlotte's Web, by request. So I think tonight, see, there's 22 chapters in total. So we're going to try to get through at least 4, maybe 5. At least 4, maybe 5 chapters tonight. So I'll be reading for a while. Core, yes, this story makes me cry too. And we all agreed before we began this, we've just agreed that it's going to be a mutual cry fest. It's just how it's going to happen. I wonder who recommended it. Killer Queen, yes. Core, at least we're all together. That's right. It's a community. Get your tissues ready. Thank you, Beatable. Wyatt, you are so ready. Y'all, get ready. We got less than a minute. I am nervous about this one. Not nervous, but I am not going to read the foreword and any of that. I'm just going to dive straight in. Rosanna, what book? Charlotte's Web. E.B. White. Kathy, you're so relaxed. Good. Everybody, be relaxed. All right, y'all. Here we go. Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Chapter 1. Before breakfast. "Where's Papa going with that axe?" said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. Out to the hog house, replied Mrs. Arable. Some pigs were born last night. I don't see why he needs an axe, continued Fern, who was only 8. Well, said her mother, one of the pigs is a runt. It's very small and weak, and it will never amount to anything. So your father has decided to do away with it. Do away with it, shrieked Fern. You mean kill it, just because it's smaller than the others? Mrs. Arable put a pitcher of cream on the table. Don't yell, Fern, she said. Your father is right. The pig would probably die anyway. Fern pushed a chair out of the way and ran outdoors. The grass was wet and the earth smelled of springtime. Fern's sneakers were sopping by the time she caught up with her father. Please don't kill it, she sobbed. It's unfair. Mr. Arable stopped walking. Fern, he said gently, you will have to learn to control yourself. Control myself, yelled Fern. This is a matter of life and death. You talk about controlling myself? Tears ran down her cheeks, and she took a hold of the axe and tried to pull it out of her father's hand. Fern, said Mr. Arable, I know more about raising a litter of pigs than you do. A weakling makes trouble. Now run along. But it's unfair, cried Fern. The pig couldn't help being born small, could it? If I had been very small at birth, would you have killed me? Mr. Arable smiled. Certainly not, he said, looking down at his daughter with love. But this is different. A little girl is one thing. A little runty pig is another. I see no difference, replied Fern, still hanging on to the axe. This is the most terrible case of injustice I've ever heard of. A queer look came over John Arable's face. He seemed almost ready to cry himself. All right, he said. You go back to the house, and I will bring the runt when I come in. I'll let you start it on a bottle, like a baby. Then you'll see what trouble a pig can be. Mr. Arable returned to the house half an hour later. He carried a carton under his arm. Fern was upstairs changing her sneakers. The kitchen table was set for breakfast, and the room smelled of coffee, bacon, damp plaster, and wood smoke from the stove. Put it on her chair, said Mrs. Arable. Mr. Arable sat the carton down at Fern's place. Then he walked to the sink and washed his hands and dried them on the roller towel. Fern came slowly down the stairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled, and there was a screeching, scratching noise. Fern looked at her father, then she lifted the lid of the carton. There, inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears, turning them pink. He's yours, said Mr. Arable, saved from an untimely death, and may the good Lord forgive me for this foolishness. Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. Oh, she whispered, oh, look at him. He's absolutely perfect. She closed the carton carefully. First, she kissed her father, and then she kissed her mother. Then she opened the lid again, lifted the pig out, and held it against her cheek. At this moment, her brother Avery came into the room. Avery was 10. He was heavily armed, an air rifle in one hand, a wooden dagger in the other. What's that? He demanded. What's Fern got? She's got a guest for breakfast, said Mrs. Arable. Wash your hands and face, Avery. Let's see it, said Avery, setting his gun down. You call that miserable thing a pig? That's a fine specimen of a pig. It's no bigger than a white rat. Wash up and eat your breakfast, Avery, said his mother. The school bus will be along in a half an hour." "Can I have a pig too, Pop?" asked Avery. "No, I only distribute pigs to early risers," said Mr. Arable. Fern was up at daylight, trying to rid the world of injustice. As a result, she now has a pig. A small one, to be sure, but nevertheless, a pig. It just shows what can happen if a person gets out of bed promptly. Let's eat. But Fern couldn't eat until her pig had had a drink of milk. Mrs. Arable found a baby's nursing bottle and a rubber nipple. She poured warm milk into the bottle, fitted the nipple over the top, and handed it to Fern. "Give him his breakfast," she said. A minute later, Fern was seated on the floor in the corner of the kitchen with her infant between her knees, teaching it to suck from the bottle. The pig, although tiny, had a good appetite and caught on quickly. The school bus honked from the road. "Run," commanded Mrs. Arable, taking the pig from Fern and slipping a donut into her hand. Avery grabbed his gun and another donut. The children ran out to the road and climbed into the bus. Fern took no notice of the others on the bus. She just sat and stared out the window, thinking what a blissful world it was and how lucky she was to have entire charge for a pig. By the time the bus reached school, Fern had named her pet, selecting the most beautiful name she could think of. "Its name is Wilbur," she whispered to herself. She was still thinking about the pig when the teacher said, "Fern, what is the capital of Pennsylvania?" "Wilbur," replied Fern dreamily. The pupils giggled. Fern blushed. Chapter 2. Wilbur. Fern loved Wilbur more than anything. She loved to stroke him, to feed him, to put him to bed. Every morning, as soon as she got up, she warmed his milk, tied his bib on, and held the bottle for him. Every afternoon, when the school bus stopped in front of her house, she jumped out and ran to the kitchen to fix another bottle for him. She fed him again at supper time, and again just before going to bed. Mrs. Arable gave him a feeding around noontime each day when Fern was away in school. Wilbur loved his milk, and he was never happier than when Fern was warming up a bottle for him. He would stand and gaze up with her with adoring eyes. For the first few days of his life, Wilbur was allowed to live in a box near the stove in the kitchen. Then when Mrs. Arable complained, he was moved to a bigger box in the woodshed. At 2 weeks of age, he was moved outdoors. It was apple blossom time, and the days were getting warmer. Mr. Arable fixed a small yard specifically for Wilbur under an apple tree and gave him a large wooden box full of straw with a doorway cut in it so he could walk in and out as he pleased. "Won't he be cold at night?" asked Fern. "No," said her father. "You watch and see what he does." Carrying a bottle of milk, Fern sat down under the apple tree inside the yard. Wilbur ran to her and held the bottle for him while he sucked. When he had finished the last drop, he grunted and walked sleepily into the box. Fern peered through the door. Wilbur was poking the straw with his snout. In a short time, he had dug a tunnel in the straw. He crawled into the tunnel and disappeared from sight, completely covered with straw. Fern was enchanted. It relieved her mind to know that her baby would sleep covered up and would stay warm. Every morning after breakfast, Wilbur walked out to the road with Fern and waited with her till the bus came. She would wave goodbye to him and he would stand and watch the bus until it vanished around the turn. While Fern was in school, Wilbur was shut up inside his yard. But as soon as she got home in the afternoon, she would take him out and he would follow her around the place. If she went into the house, Wilbur went too. If she went upstairs, Wilbur would wait at the bottom step until she came down again. If she took her doll for a walk in the doll carriage, Wilbur followed along. Sometimes on those journeys, Wilbur would get tired, and Fern would pick him up and put him in the carriage alongside the doll. He liked this. And if he was very tired, he would close his eyes and go to sleep under the doll's blanket. He looked cute when his eyes were closed because his lashes were so long. The doll would close her eyes too, and Fern would wheel the carriage very slowly and smoothly so as not to wake her infants. One warm afternoon, Fern and Avery put on bathing suits and went down to the brook for a swim. Wilbur tagged along at Fern's heels. When she waded into the brook, Wilbur waded in with her. He found the water quite cold, too cold for his liking. So while the children swam and played and splashed water at each other, Wilbur amused himself in the mud along the edge of the brook, where it was warm and moist and delightfully sticky and oozy. Every day was happy day, and every night was peaceful. Wilbur was what farmers call a spring pig, which simply means he was born in the springtime. When he was 5 weeks old, Mr. Arable said he was now big enough to sell and would have to be sold. Fern broke down and wept, but her father was firm about it. Wilbur's appetite had increased. He was beginning to eat scraps of food in addition to milk. Mr. Arable was not willing to provide for him any longer. He had already sold Wilbur's 10 brothers and sisters. "He's got to go, Fern," he said. "You have had your fun raising a baby pig, but Wilbur is not a baby any longer, and he has got to be sold." "Call up the Zuckermans," suggested Mrs. Arable to Fern. "Your Uncle Homer sometimes raises a pig, and if Wilbur goes there to live, you can walk down the road and visit him as often as you like." "How much money should I ask for him?" Fern wanted to know. "Well," said her father, "he's a runt. Tell your Uncle Homer you've got a pig you'll sell for $6 and see what he says." It was soon arranged. Fern phoned and got her Aunt Edith, and her Aunt Edith hollered for Uncle Homer, and Uncle Homer came in from the barn and talked to Fern. When he heard the price was only $6, he said he would buy the pig. Next day, Wilbur was taken from his home under the apple tree and went to live in a manure pile in the cellar of Zuckerman's barn. Chapter 3. The Escape. The barn was very large. It was very old. It smelled of hay and it smelled of manure. It smelled of the perspiration of tired horses and the wonderful sweet breath of patient cows. It often had a sort of peaceful smell, as though nothing bad could happen ever again in the world. It smelled of grain and of harness dressing and of axle grease and of rubber boots and of new rope. And whenever the cat was given a fish head to eat, the barn would smell of fish. But mostly it smelled of hay, for there was always hay in the great loft up overhead, and there was always hay being pitched down to the cows and the horses and the sheep. The barn was pleasantly warm in winter, when the animals spent most of their time indoors, and it was pleasantly cool in the summer, when the big doors stood wide open to the breeze. The barn had stalls on the main floor for the workhorses, tie-ups on the main floor for the cows, a sheepfold down below for the sheep, a pig pen down below for Wilbur, and it was full of all sorts of things that you find in barns: ladders, grindstones, pitchforks, monkey wrenches, sieves, lawnmowers, snow shovels, axe handles, milk pails, water buckets, empty grain sacks, and rusty rat traps. It was the kind of barn that swallows like to build their nests in. It was the kind of barn that children like to play in. And the whole thing was owned by Fern's uncle, Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman. Wilbur's new home was in the lower part of the barn, directly underneath the cows. Mr. Zuckerman knew that a manure pile is a good place to keep a young pig. Pigs need warmth, and it was warm and comfortable down there in the barn cellar on the south side. Fern came almost every day to visit him. She found an old milking stool that had been discarded, and she placed the stool in the sheepfold next to Wilbur's pen. Here she sat quietly during the long afternoons, thinking and listening and watching Wilbur. The sheep soon got to know her and trust her. So did the geese who lived with the sheep. All the animals trusted her. She was so quiet and friendly. Mr. Zuckerman did not allow her to take Wilbur out, and he did not allow her to get into the pig pen. But he told Fern that she could sit on the stool and watch Wilbur as long as she wanted to. It made her happy just to be near the pig, and it made Wilbur happy to know that she was sitting there, right outside his pen. But he never had any fun. No walks, no rides, no swims. One afternoon in June, when Wilbur was almost 2 months old, he wandered out into a small yard outside the barn. Fern had not arrived for her usual visit. Wilbur stood in the sun, feeling lonely and bored. There's never anything to do around here, he thought. He walked slowly to his food trough, sniffed to see if anything had been overlooked at lunch. He found a small strip of potato skin and ate it. His back itched, so he leaned against the fence and rubbed against the boards. When he tired of this, he walked indoors, climbed on top of the manure pile, and sat down. He didn't feel like going to sleep. He didn't feel like digging. He was tired of standing still, tired of lying down. I'm less than 2 months old, and I'm tired of living, he said. He walked out into the yard again. When I'm out here, he said, there's no place to go but in. When I'm indoors, there's no place to go but out in the yard. That's where you're wrong, my friend, said a voice. Wilbur looked through the fence and saw the goose standing there. You don't have to stay in that dirty little yard, said the goose, who talked rather fast. One of the boards is loose. Push on it. Push, push, push on it. And come on out. What? Said Wilbur. Say it slower. At a risk of repeating myself, said the goose, I suggest that you come on out. It's wonderful out here. Did you say a board was loose? That I did, said the goose. Wilbur walked up to the fence and saw that the goose was right. One board was loose. He put his head down, shut his eyes, and pushed. The board gave way. In a minute, he had squeezed through the fence and was standing in the long grass outside his yard. The goose chuckled. How does it feel to be free? She asked. I like it, said Wilbur. That is, I guess I like it. Actually, Wilbur felt queer to be outside his fence, with nothing between him and the big world. Where do you think I'd go? Anywhere you like, said the goose. Go down through the orchard, root up the sod, go down through the garden, dig up the radishes, root up everything, eat grass, look for corn, look for oats, run all over, skip and dance, jump, prance, go down through the orchard and stroll in the woods. The world is a wonderful place when you're young. I can see that, replied Wilbur. He gave a jump in the air, twirled, ran a few steps, stopped, looked all around, sniffed the smells of afternoon, and then set off walking down through the orchard, pausing in the shade of an apple tree. He put his strong snout into the ground and began pushing, digging, and rooting. He felt very happy. He had plowed up quite a piece of ground before anyone noticed him. Mrs. Zuckerman was the first to see him. She saw him from the kitchen window, and she immediately shouted for the men. "Homer!" she cried. "Pigs out! Lurvy, pigs out! Homer, Lurvy, pigs out!" He's down there under the apple tree. Now the trouble starts, thought Wilbur. Now I'll catch it. The goose heard the racket, and she too started hollering. "Run, run, run! Downhill! Make for the woods! The woods!" she shouted to Wilbur. "They'll never, never, never catch you in the woods." The cocker spaniel heard the commotion, and he ran out from the barn to join the chase. Mr. Zuckerman heard, and he came out of the machine shed where he was melding a tool. Lurvy, the hired man, heard the noise and came up from the asparagus pouch where he was pulling weeds. Everybody walked toward Wilbur, and Wilbur didn't know what to do. The woods seemed a long way off, and anyway, he had never been down there in the woods and wasn't sure he would like it. Get around behind him, Lurvy, said Zuckerman, and drive him toward the barn. And take it easy. Don't rush him. I'll go get a bucket of slops. The news of Wilbur's escape spread rapidly among the animals in the place. Whenever any creature broke loose on Zuckerman's farm, the event was of great interest to others. The goose shouted to the nearest cow that Wilbur was free, and soon the cows knew. Then one of the cows told one of the sheep, and soon all the sheep knew. The lambs learned about it from their mothers. The horses in their stalls in the barn pricked up their ears when they heard the goose hollering, and soon the horses had caught on to what was happening. "Wilbur's out," they said. Every animal stirred and lifted its head and became excited to know that one of his friends had got free and was no longer pinned up or tied fast. Wilbur didn't know what to do or which way to run. It seemed as though everybody was after him. If this is what it's like to be free, he thought, I believe I'd rather be pinned up in my own yard. The cocker spaniel was sneaking up on him from one side. Lurvy, the hired man, was sneaking up from the other side, and Mrs. Zuckerman stood ready to head him off as he started for the gardens. And now Mr. Zuckerman is coming down toward him with a pail. This is really awful, thought Wilbur. Why doesn't Fern come? He began to cry. The goose took command and began to give orders. "Don't just stand there, Wilbur. Dodge about, cried the goose. "Skip around, run toward me, slip in and out, and in and out, and in and out. Make for the woods, twist and turn." The cocker spaniel sprang for Wilbur's hind leg. Wilbur jumped and ran. Lurvy reached out and grabbed. Mrs. Zuckerman screamed at Lurvy. The goose cheered for Wilbur. Wilbur dodged between Lurvy's legs. Lurvy missed Wilbur and grabbed the spaniel instead. Nicely done, cried the goose. Try it again. Run downhill, suggested the cows. Run toward me, yelled the gander. Run uphill, cried the sheep. Turn and twist, honked the goose. Jump and dance, said the rooster. Look out for Lurvy, called the cows. Look out for Zuckerman, yelled the gander. Watch out for the dog, cried the sheep. Listen to me, screamed the goose. Poor Wilbur had dazed and frightened by his hullabaloo. He didn't like being the center of all this fuss. He tried to follow the instructions his friends were giving him, but he couldn't run downhill and uphill at the same time. He couldn't turn and twist as he was jumping and dancing, and he was crying so hard he could barely see anything that was happening. After all, Wilbur was a very young pig. Not much more than a baby, really. He wished Fern were there to take him in her arms and comfort him. When he looked up and saw Mr. Zuckerman standing quite close to him, holding a pail of warm slops, he felt relieved. He lifted his nose and sniffed. The smell was delicious. Warm milk, potato skins, wheat middlings, Kellogg's cornflakes, and a popover left from the Zuckerman's breakfast. "Come, pig," said Mr. Zuckerman, tapping the pail. "Come, pig." Wilbur took a step toward the pail. "No, no, no, no," said the goose. "It's the old pail trick, Wilbur. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. He's trying to lure you back into captivity. He's appealing to your stomach." Wilbur didn't care. The food smelled appetizing. He took another step toward the pail. "Pig, pig," said Mr. Zuckerman in a kind voice, and began walking slowly toward the barnyard, looking all about him innocently, as if he didn't know that a little white pig was following along behind him. "You'll be sorry, sorry, sorry," called the goose. Wilbur didn't care. He kept walking toward the pail of slop. "You'll miss your freedom," honked the goose. "An hour of freedom is worth a barrel of slops." Wilbur didn't care. When Mr. Zuckerman reached the pig pen, he climbed over the fence and poured the slops into the trough. Then he pulled the loose board away from the fence so that there was a wide hole for Wilbur to walk through. "Reconsider, reconsider," cried the goose. Wilbur paid no attention. He stepped through the fence into his yard. He walked to the trough and took a long drink of slops, sucking in the milk hungrily and chewing the popover. It was good to be home again. While Wilbur ate, Lurvy fetched a hammer and some 8-penny nails and nailed the board in place. Then he and Mr. Zuckerman leaned lazily on the fence. Mr. Zuckerman scratched Wilbur's back with a stick. "He's quite a pig," said Lurvy. "Yes, he'll make a good pig," said Zuckerman. Wilbur heard the words of praise. He felt the warm milk inside his stomach. He felt the pleasant rubbing of the stick along his itchy back. He felt peaceful and happy and sleepy. This had been a tiring afternoon. It was still only about 4:00, but Wilbur was ready for bed. "I'm really too young to go out into the world alone," he thought as he lay down. Chapter 4. Loneliness. The next day was rainy and dark. Rain fell on the roof of the barn and dripped steadily from the eaves. Rain fell in the barnyard and ran in crooked courses down into the lane where thistles and pigweed grew. Rain spattered against Mrs. Zuckerman's kitchen windows and came gushing out of the downspouts. Rain fell on the backs of the sheep as they gazed in the meadow. When the sheep tired of standing in the rain, they walked slowly up the lane and into the fold. Rain upset Wilbur's plans. Wilbur had planned to go out this day and dig a new hole in his yard. He had other plans too. His plans for the day went something like this. Breakfast at 6:30, skim milk, crusts, middlings, bits of donuts, wheat cakes with drops of maple syrup sticking to them, potato skins, leftover custard pudding with raisins, and bits of shredded wheat. Breakfast would be finished at 7. From 7 to 8, Wilbur planned to have a talk with Templeton, the rat that lived under his trough. Talking with Templeton was not the most interesting occupation in the world, but it was better than nothing. From 8 to 9, Wilbur planned to take a nap outdoors in the sun. From 9 to 11, he planned to dig a hole or trench and possibly find something good to eat buried in the dirt. From 11 to 12, he planned to stand still and watch flies on the boards, watch bees in the clover, and watch swallows in the air. 12 o'clock, lunchtime, middlings, warm water, apple parings, meat gravy, carrot scrapings, meat scraps, stale hominy, and the wrapper of a package of cheese. Lunch would be over at 1. From 1 to 2, Wilbur planned to sleep. From 2 to 3, he planned to scratch itchy places by rubbing against the fence. From 3 to 4, he planned to stand perfectly still and think of what it was like to be alive and to wait for Fern. At 4 would come supper. Skim milk, provender leftover sandwich from Lurvy's lunchbox, prune skins, a morsel of this, a bit of that, fried potatoes, marmalade drippings, a little more of this, a little more of that, a piece of baked apple, a scrap of upside-down cake. Wilbur had gone to sleep thinking about these plans. He awoke at 6, saw the rain, and it seemed as though he couldn't bear it. I get everything all beautifully planned out, and it has to go and rain, he said. For a while he stood gloomily indoors. Then he walked to the door and looked out. Drops of rain struck his face. His yard was cold and wet. His trough had an inch of rainwater in it. Templeton was nowhere to be seen. "Are you out there, Templeton?" called Wilbur. There was no answer. Suddenly Wilbur felt lonely and friendless. "One day, just like another," he groaned. "I'm very young. I have no real friend here in the barn. It's going to rain all morning and all afternoon, and Fern won't come in such bad weather. But honestly," and Wilbur was crying again for the second time in 2 days. At 6:30, Wilbur heard the banging of a pail. Lurvy was standing outside in the rain, stirring up breakfast. "Come on, pig," said Lurvy. Wilbur did not budge. Lurvy dumped the slops, scrapped the pail, and walked away. He noticed that something was wrong with the pig. Wilbur didn't want food. He wanted love. He wanted a friend, someone who would play with him. He mentioned this to the goose, who was sitting quietly in a corner of the sheepfold. "Will you come over and play with me?" he asked. "Sorry, Sonny, sorry," said the goose. "I'm sitting on my eggs, 8 of them. Got to keep them toasty, oasty warm. I have to stay right here. I'm no flibberty-ibberty-gibbet. I do not play when there are eggs to hatch. I'm expecting goslings." "Well, I didn't think you were expecting woodpeckers," said Wilbur bitterly. Wilbur tried one of the lambs. "Will you please come play with me?" he asked. "Certainly not," said the lamb. "In the first place, I cannot get into your pen, as I am not old enough to jump over the fence. In the second place, I am not interested in pigs. Pigs mean less than nothing to me." "What do you mean, less than nothing?" replied Wilbur. "I don't think there is such a thing as less than nothing. Nothing is absolutely the limit of nothingness. It's the lowest you can go. It's the end of the line. How can something be less than nothing? If there were something, that was less than nothing, then nothing would not be nothing. It would be something, even though it's just a very little bit of something. But if nothing is nothing, then nothing has nothing that is less than it is. "Oh, be quiet," said the lamb. "Go play by yourself. I don't play with pigs." Sadly, Wilbur lay down and listened to the rain. Soon he saw the rat climbing down a slanting board that he used as a stairway. "Will you play with me, Templeton?" asked Wilbur. "Play," said Templeton, twirling his whiskers. "Play? I hardly know the meaning of the word." "Well," said Wilbur, "it means to have fun, to frolic, to run and skip and make merry." "I never do those things if I can avoid them," replied the rat sourly. "I prefer to spend my time eating, gnawing, spying, and hiding. I'm a glutton, but not a merrymaker. Right now, I'm on my way to your trough to eat your breakfast, since you haven't gotten sense enough to eat yourself." And Templeton the rat crept stealthily along the wall and disappeared into a private tunnel that he had dug between the door and the trough in Wilbur's yard. Templeton was a crafty rat, and he had things pretty much his own way. The tunnel was an example of his skill and cunning. The tunnel enabled him to get from the barn to his hiding place under the pig trough without coming out into the open. He had tunnels and runways all over Mr. Zuckerman's farm and could get from one place to another without being seen. Usually he slept during the daytime and was abroad only after dark. Wilbur watched him disappear into the tunnel. In a moment, he saw the rat's sharp nose poke from underneath the wooden trough. Cautiously, Templeton pulled himself over the edge of the trough. This was almost more than Wilbur could stand. On this dreary, rainy day, to see his breakfast being eaten by somebody else. He knew Templeton was getting soaked out there in the pouring rain, but even that didn't comfort him. Friendless, dejected, and hungry, he threw himself down in the manure and sobbed. Late that afternoon, Lurvy went to Mr. Zuckerman. "I think there's something wrong with that pig of yours. He hasn't touched his food. Give him 2 spoonfuls of sulfur and a little molasses," said Mr. Zuckerman. Wilbur couldn't believe what was happening to him when Lurvy caught him and forced the medicine down his throat. This was certainly the worst day of his life. He didn't know whether he could endure the awful loneliness anymore. Darkness settled over everything. Soon, there were only shadows and the noises of sheep chewing their cuds, and occasionally the rattle of a cow chain up overhead. You can imagine Wilbur's surprise when, out of the darkness, came a small voice he had never heard before. It sounded rather thin, but pleasant. "Do you want a friend, Wilbur?" it said. "I'll be a friend to you. I've watched you all day, and I like you." "But I can't see you," said Wilbur, jumping to his feet. "Where are you? Who are you?" "I'm right up here," said the voice. "Go to sleep. You'll see me in the morning." Chapter 5. Shall I continue? All right, Chapter 5, Charlotte. The night seemed long. Wilbur's stomach was empty and his mind was full. And when your stomach is empty and your mind is full, it's always hard to sleep. A dozen times during the night, Wilbur woke, stared into the blackness, listening to the sounds and trying to figure out what time it was. A barn is never perfectly quiet. Even at midnight, there is usually something stirring. The first time he woke, he heard Templeton gnawing a hole in the grain bin. Templeton's teeth scraped loudly against the wood and made quite a racket. That crazy rat, thought Wilbur. Why does he have to stay up all night, grinding his clashers and destroying people's property? Why can't he just go to sleep like any decent animal? The second time Wilbur woke, he heard the goose turning on her nest and chuckling to herself. "What time is it?" whispered Wilbur to the goose. "Probably obbly about 11:30, said the goose. "Why aren't you asleep, Wilbur?" "Too many things on my mind," said Wilbur. "Well," said the goose, "that's not my trouble. I have nothing at all on my mind, but I have too many things under my behind. Have you ever tried to sleep while sitting on 8 eggs? "No," replied Wilbur. "I suppose it's uncomfortable." "How long does it take a goose egg to hatch?" Approximately 30 days, all told," answered the goose. "But I cheat a little. On warm afternoons, I just pull a little straw over the eggs and I go out for a walk." Wilbur yawned and went back to sleep. In his dreams, he heard again the voice saying, "I'll be a friend to you. Go to sleep. You'll see me in the morning." About half an hour before dawn, Wilbur woke and listened. The barn was still dark. The sheep lay motionless. Even the goose was quiet. Overhead on the main floor, nothing stirred. The cows were resting. The horses dozed. Templeton had quit work and was gone off somewhere on an errand. The only sound was a slight scraping noise from the rooftop, where the weather vane swung back and forth. Wilbur loved the barn when it was like this, calm, quiet, waiting for light. Day is almost here, he thought. Through a small window, a faint gleam appeared. One by one, the stars went out. Wilbur could see the goose a few feet away. She sat with head tucked under a wing. Then he could see the sheep and the lambs. The sky lightened. "Oh, beautiful day, it is here at last. Today I shall find my friend." Wilbur looked everywhere. He searched his pen thoroughly. He examined the window ledge, stared up at the ceiling, but he saw nothing. Finally, he decided he would have to speak up. He hated to break the lovely stillness of dawn by using his voice, but he couldn't think of another way to locate the mysterious new friend, who was nowhere to be seen. So Wilbur cleared his throat. "Attention, please," he said in a loud, firm voice. "Will the party who addressed me at bedtime last night kindly make himself or herself known by giving an appropriate sign or signal?" Wilbur paused and listened. All the other animals lifted their heads and stared at him. Wilbur blushed, but he was determined to get in touch with his unknown friend. "Attention, please," he said. "I will repeat the message. Will the party who addressed me at bedtime last night kindly speak up and tell me where you are, if you are my friend?" The sheep looked at each other in disgust. "Stop your nonsense, Wilbur," said the oldest sheep. "If you have a new friend here, you are probably disturbing his rest. And the quickest way to spoil a friendship is to wake somebody up in the morning before he is ready. How can you be sure your friend is an early riser?" "I beg everyone's pardon," whispered Wilbur. "I didn't mean to be objectionable." He lay down meekly in the manure, facing the door. He did not know it, but his friend was very near. And the old sheep was right. The friend was still asleep. Soon Lurvy appeared with slops for breakfast. Wilbur rushed out, ate everything up in a hurry, and licked the trough. The sheep moved off down the lane, the gander waddling along behind them, pulling grass. And then, just as Wilbur was settling down for his morning nap, he heard again the thin voice that had addressed him the night before. "Salutations," said the voice. Wilbur jumped to his feet. "Salu what?" he cried. "Salutations," repeated the voice. "What are they, and where are you?" screamed Wilbur. Please tell me where you are, and what are salutations?" "Salutations are greetings," said the voice. "When I say salutations, it's just my fancy way of saying hello or good morning. Actually, it's a silly expression, and I am surprised that I used it at all. As for my whereabouts, that's easy. Look up here in the corner of the doorway. Here I am. Look, I'm waving." At last Wilbur saw the creature that had spoken to him in such a kindly way. Stretched across the upper part of the doorway was a big spider web, and hanging from the top of the web, head down, was a large gray spider. She was about the size of a gumdrop. She had 8 legs, and she was waving one of them at Wilbur, in a friendly greeting. "See me now?" she asked. "Oh, yes, indeed," said Wilbur. "Yes, indeed. How are you? Good morning. Salutations. Very pleased to meet you. What is your name, please? May I have your name?" "My name," said the spider, "is Charlotte." "Charlotte what?" asked Wilbur eagerly. "Charlotte A. Kavatka. But just call me Charlotte." "I think you're beautiful," said Wilbur. "Well, I am pretty," replied Charlotte. "There's no denying that. Almost all spiders are rather nice looking. I'm not as flashy as some, but I'll do. I wish I could see you, Wilbur, as clearly as you see me." "Why can't you?" asked the pig. "I'm right here." "Yes, but I'm nearsighted," replied Charlotte. "I've always been dreadfully nearsighted. It's good in some ways, not so good in others. Watch me wrap up this fly." A fly that had been crawling along Wilbur's trough had flown up and blundered into the lower part of Charlotte's web and was tangled in the sticky threads. The fly was beating its wings furiously, trying to break loose and free itself. "First," said Charlotte, "I dive at him." She plunged headfirst towards the fly, and she dropped a tiny silken thread around her, unwound from her rear end. "Next, I wrap him up." She grabbed the fly, threw a few jets of silk around it, and rolled it over and over, wrapping it so that it couldn't move. Wilbur watched in horror. He could hardly believe what he was seeing, and although he detested flies, he was sorry for this one. "There," said Charlotte. "Now I knock him out so he'll be more comfortable." She bit the fly. "He can't feel a thing now," she remarked. "He'll make a perfect breakfast for me." "You mean you eat flies?" gasped Wilbur. "Certainly. Flies, bugs, grasshoppers, choice beetles, moths, butterflies, tasty cockroaches, gnats, midges, daddy longlegs, centipedes, mosquitoes, crickets, anything that is careless enough to get caught in my web. I have to live, don't I?" "Why, yes, of course," said Wilbur. "Do they taste good?" "Delicious, of course. I don't really eat them. I drink them. Drink their blood. I love blood, said Charlotte, and her pleasant thin voice grew even thinner and more pleasant. Don't say that, groaned Wilbur. Please don't say things like that. Why not? It's true. I have to say what is true. I am not entirely happy about my diet of flies and bugs, but it's the way I am made. A spider has to pick up a living somehow or other, and I happen to be a trapper. I just naturally build a web and trap flies and other insects. My mother was a trapper before me. Her mother was a trapper before her. All our family have been trappers. Way back for thousands and thousands of years, we spiders have been laying for flies and bugs. It's a miserable inheritance, said Wilbur gloomily. He was sad because he knew his new friend was so bloodthirsty. Yes, it is, agreed Charlotte, but I can't help it. I don't know how the first spider in the early days of the world happened to think up this fancy idea of spinning a web, but she did, and it was clever of her to. And since then, all of us spiders have had to work the same trick. It's not a bad pitch on the whole. It's cruel, replied Wilbur, who did not intend to be argued out of his position. Well, you can't talk, said Charlotte. You have your meals brought to you in a pail. Nobody feeds me. I have to get my own living. I live by my wits. I have to be sharp and clever, lest I go hungry. I have to think things out, catch what I can, take what comes, and it just so happens, my friend, that what comes is flies and insects and bugs. And furthermore, said Charlotte, shaking one of her legs, do you realize that if I didn't catch bugs and eat them, bugs would increase and multiply and get so numerous that they destroy the earth? Wipe out everything? Really? Said Wilbur. I wouldn't want that to happen. Perhaps your web is a good thing after all. The goose had been listening to his conversation and chuckled to herself. There are a lot of things Wilbur doesn't know about life, she thought. He's really a very innocent little pig. He doesn't even know what's going to happen to him around Christmas time. He has no idea that Mr. Zuckerman and Lurvy are plotting to kill him. And the goose raised herself a bit, poked her eggs a little further under her so that they would receive the full heat from her warm body and soft feathers. Charlotte stood quietly over the fly, preparing to eat it. Wilbur lay down, closed his eyes. He was tired from his wakeful night and from the excitement of meeting someone for the first time. A breeze brought him the smell of clover, the sweet-smelling world beyond his fence. Well, he thought, I've got a new friend, all right. But what a gamble friendship is. Charlotte is fierce, brutal, scheming, bloodthirsty. Everything I don't like. How can I learn to like her, even though she is pretty and, of course, clever? Wilbur was merely suffering the doubts and fears that often go with finding a new friend. In good time, he was to discover that he was mistaken about Charlotte. Underneath her rather bold and cruel exterior, she had a kind heart. And she was to prove loyal and true to the very end. That's it for tonight. Did you enjoy it? Thank you. Drew, hi. Kathy, you almost fell asleep? Good. That's the point. Beatable, thank you. Killer Queen, so nice with a cup of tea. Bet it was. Thank you, SEF. Shelley, thank you. Ethan, very relaxing. Multi, it's 4 a.m. and you nearly fell asleep. I bet you did. I bet you did. All right. Someone wants to see the tattoo. Jonathan Bailey's bum hair. You play Mahjong while listening. That's awesome. I need to learn how to play Mahjong. I don't know how to play that. Tattoo. Hi, Mickey. Woof, bark, bark, woof, woof. Oh, Lord. Correct. Wyatt. Flint, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. I saw you while I was reading. I saw your name pop up. I'm glad you're here. You doing all right? See if you just ate dinner with your eyes. How about that? Flint. Yawns are contagious. I apologize for that. It's late. For me, at least. You had dinner and a show, as usual. Jonathan Bailey, go to bed. I'm going to have to go to bed pretty soon, y'all. Beatable, you're yawning too. See? It catches on. Wyatt. Yes, Kathy, if you've got to get up at 4 a.m., you've got to go to work. Hopefully you'll have a better day tomorrow than today. There is no lash routine. They just are what they are. How do they look today? I do not know. Thank you, Shelley. Killer Queen, thank you. You gave your patient the meanest face. That's hilarious. Oh, natural. Thank you for the donut. All right, y'all. I am going to head to bed before I yawn again. Thank you very much. We'll continue tomorrow evening with more of Charlotte's Web. I look forward to it. We'll do it a little earlier, so there's no yawning involved. I like to keep Friday nights on the later side. SEF, good night. Y'all sleep well. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your day if you're coming to us from Australia or the other side of the world. So happy to have you. It's been fun. Sleep tight.